Hello, Phil Newton England, back with another Crystal Maze video. My previous videos, we've been looking at some of the games, the floor plans, and the actual game titles. What we're looking at now, well, it is a Crystal Maze Games Tech Meeting book. As you can see, Tech Meeting book, this is dated 27th of the 3rd, 2017, which means it pertains to the very first series of the reboot with Richard Ayoade. Now, when we tested the games, these were used by the crew to make notes of the games, to tell us how to play the games and what needed to be done, what times they needed to be done in, and if there was anything needed. So we're going to have a quick look then. I've got a couple of these, one for the American series as well, which we'll be having a look at as well, because there's different games in that. But for now, let's look at the first one. So Games Tech Meeting, we'll open it up. As you can see, first couple of pages, we've got a quick rundown of the zones: Aztec, Futuristic, Industrial, Medieval, and the titles of the games that are going to be used. Now, as I did say before, there's a few of the games that never made it to the final show. There's a couple in here which we're going to look at a bit more closely than the others, because all the others, if you've seen the show, you'll be familiar with them already. As always with this, you can pause it and read it if you want. I'm not going to read it all out because there is a lot to get through. And you know me, I like short videos. But let's have a look at them. So starting off in Aztec, obviously, the first one is Unlock the Gods. And I'll give you a quick rundown of this one. They're all the sort of same layout, but I'll start you off with the first one. Zone is Aztec. Type physical. The time is to be confirmed. And is it an automatic lock-in? That's to be confirmed as well. And that gives you a game summary. The game takes place in the water room. There's an Aztec god statue on either side, one by the entrance and one on the far side of the pool. There's 2 walls in the water, which are obstacles. By the entrance is a picture of 4 symbols. The contestant must place blocks with these 4 symbols in the 4 holes in the far statue's head, and vice versa when that's revealed into there. So you get a picture as well, a rough idea of what the cell's going to look like once the game has built. Moving on then, we've got Statue Puzzle, Weight Raft. These are all in the water room. Again, as I said, you can pause them if you want. You can read that yourself. They're quite interesting. And then we've got Water Wheels here. Now, as I said, this is one of the games that didn't make it to the final edit. So we'll have a quick, more in-depth look at this one. Water Wheels. Image there. Aztec, it's a skill game, and the rest to be confirmed. Game summary: on the back wall are pegs, and 1 water wheel is fixed on the wall. There are more water wheels on the floor. The contestant must arrange the water wheels in the correct formation, placing them on the right pegs. They then tip the jug so that the water flows out and down the wheels. The water will then feed the god, and when it's full, the crystal will rise out of his head. So there you go. That was never used. It's very similar to the Cog game from Medieval. Maybe that's why they didn't use it, because it was a bit too similar. But this time they're using water instead of just placing the cogs on and turning the winch. So up next then, Ball Balance, one of the most evil games of the show. Nobody ever managed to do it. You had to get all the balls into the chute without dropping 3. If you did, it was an automatic lock-in. Next then, 4 symbols. We had a room with 8 blocks, all symbols on each side of the blocks, and you had to put, so there was 4 different symbols on each side. It was played in the Christmas edition as well, but the symbols were slightly different, made more of a Christmas theme for that. Totem Pole, another one there, another good one with the dragon, which I do now own. It's my friend's garage at the moment because it's a bit too big to get in the house. But that is a good one as well. A bit like the old Mastermind game where you had to have 4 colours in a certain order to be correct. You had to guess the process of elimination, which order they were in. Word Wheel, another good one where the discs spin round to spell out some 8-letter words. Sliding Planks, another good one that had a foggy bog in it. And finally, Water Pipes, where you had to direct the pipes, the flow of water through the pipes into these funnels where there was like wooden keys, and they would float to the top, and then you'd have to put them in this chest where the crystal was hidden. That's your Aztec games then. Let's look at the Futuristic games. Sweeping Lasers, yes, Futuristic fizzle game. And it's the crystal is locked in the box at the end. You had to make your way through these alternating laser beams either side of the room. Computer maze, another good one. You had to crawl through this little tunnel here, ending up to put 3 coloured microchips into their correct slots to win the crystal. Planet Walk, a very, very popular one. They're so popular that it actually went on all series of the show, all 3, UK and the American one. Slight differences. This is Planet Walk. Some of the planets were suspended from above. Some were on springs underneath, and some were on like bungee cords that went all the way through. So it was like Planet Walk, Planet Wobble, and Planet Run or something like that. So they'd slightly amended them and the names to go with it. But a very popular one, and very enjoyed by a lot of the viewers. Feel the Space Station, one of my favourite ones. I always love it when they sort of do the room out as if it's in outer space or something like this. This was like on the surface of the moon. Little asteroids blown, and you had to get this pipe into the end without knocking any of the asteroids off of their air pressure thing. And next then, nuclear crystal. Again, the crystal was inside one end of this desk, and you had to use some like tong things to move it from one end to the other to get it. If you hit 3 alarms, you'd be locked in. Coloured blocks, again, a description on the wall, what you had to do. You had to put the blocks in a certain order, and that was for both sides, not just the side we see here. Touchscreen chain. And now here's one that was not used. Very detailed, and we'll go into it. Futuristic, obviously. Mental game. And the game summary. The contestant faces a touchscreen. On the screen is a grid with an equation with a number of blank spaces. Below the grid are some missing numbers. The contestant must drag and drop the missing numbers into the correct space. This game may be played with numerical equations, missing words, or faces. And for unknown reasons, I mean, it says something there, but for unknown reasons, it was never used in the final. Up next, then, Laser Maze. That was certainly used in the show. You had to make your way through flashing lasers to put your hand on the scanner to stop the lasers and turn them off so you could get out with a crystal. Piano puzzle, another one. It was okay. I just always wondered why was a piano in space. Maybe it was for the astronauts. When they got a bit bored, they could do something to pass the time. And it's quite interesting as well. If you see in here, there's like wires and cables, different colours in there. Obviously, the final game, it was like a jigsaw on top with these coloured stripes on there, and you had to match all the stripes up. Jarhead in Futuristic Zone to start off with. Obviously, he moved on to Medieval and then Eastern. Over to Industrial. The Nuclear Plant Spin, again, a very, very popular game. A couple of the contestants felt a bit sick. In the case of one, as I said, they had to leave, go into the back room and just chill out for a bit because they felt a bit sick, joining the team a little bit later on. That's a good one there. I certainly wouldn't have liked to have tested that one. Next, Sewer Escape. You go up the ladders. In one end, the ring was on. The crystal was on a ring. You had to thread it through the pipes, downstairs and back out again. Similar one in the original series, where you stood on boingy steps and the crystal was above you. Gutter Ball. That's another one. You had to stop the pipes in order, press the button, and see if the crystal would roll down. I think you had one chance at that. So if you got it wrong, you lost the crystal. Carousel Generator. Find a couple of tools to unlock the crystal. Connect to the light box, solving equations on top, matching one of the boxes up with one of the others to get it correct. Do all correct, you got the crystal. Word Tetris. Put these frames over this grid of letters to spell out 4 four-letter words. Clock Puzzle. That's another bizarre one. I did like it. Different types of clock. And you had to sort of use a bit of maths for that one to work out which times the next clock would say. Phone wires, that's another good one. Questions come through the phone, you had to answer them. The answers were a colour, to which you then had to go to that relevant phone to get another question, and so on. Access codes, one of my favourite games ever. Absolutely loved this. Contestant went in, there was a a sum on the door. That answer to the sum was the keypad entrance to get in, and you had to work your way through the doors back. The thing was, once you got the crystal, you had to remember the numbers. There was no sum on the door on the other side, so you had to remember in reverse the code numbers to get back out. Some did it, some didn't, but brilliant game. Thought that was really good, really sort of classic Crystal Maze. And then finally, Lights Off, again another classic Crystal Maze type game. I had to press a set series of buttons to turn the lights off, and some would reset them all. Medieval is next, home of Mumsy, for the original series anyway. Disappearing Bridge, another good one. As I said before, you have to cross the bridge. When you get to the side, that will retract, and you've got to make your way back again through planks in slots in the walls. Again, that was used for the American series, but it was moved to the Eastern Zone. Door anagrams, use the cannon to fire cannonballs at the doors to open them, and there was an anagram there that pertained to some of the shrines on the wall. Tree Balance, not one of my favourites, I must admit. Will be honest with you there. Bit basic game. You just had to put the apples on the tree to make it balance. I think everybody did it. It kind of looked nice that there was a tree in the medieval courtyard, but the game itself, as I said, not one of my favourites. Windmill, again another quite simple one. Just build up the windmill stack and then turn the handle, which blows wind to turn the shield, which will knock the crystal down the gutter. So you get it. Next one, Medieval Toy Shop. This was a good one. You had to put, there was all some objects to start with, and it made a word chain. There's like 7 plinths with a toy on each of the first 2. Them 2 items can be paired to form a new word, example, rattle and snake. And then the contestant had to continue the word chain by finding toys on the back shelves that matched the words. When they had the correct on each plinth, the crystal will be released in a little till. Synonym Dominoes, very similar one again to the basic 90s show. It kind of varied. Some would have synonyms, or some would have opposites and things like that. But not a bad game, not a bad game. Roman numerals, that was fiendish, because not only did you have to add up all the squares around it, or the circles around it, you had to work out what the Roman numerals were in the first place. So double jeopardy there on that one. The Jailer, again, yeah, I like that one. You go into the back room where there's a jail to pick the crystal up. It's just laying there, but as you go to pick that up, the Jailer locks you in. You have to answer 2 riddles correctly out of 3, a bit like Mumsy. And if you got them right, he would move the pegs, and you'd be free to take the crystal out of the actual big main cell. Next up, Secret Library, another good one. Sit down. The table turns into a back room where you had to solve a kind of murder mystery game. Various puzzles, again, like an escape room. You had to solve certain puzzles to solve another one, to solve another one, to get out. And that is actually called, as I say, Secret Library. Very good one, that. Knight's Maze, that was a good one, and quite memorable for one reason. I think it was the Sani family, I might be wrong, or the Ali family, it was one of them. She went in to play the game, and she was totally scared, absolutely scared, that she asked to come out, and her husband took over instead for her. So there you go. It's a good game. 2 knights sort of marching around. You've got to avoid them to get the crystal. If the knights touched you, you were locked in. And there you go. That is a games meeting then for Series 1 of the Crystal Maze. I have got one for the American series as well. I'll be looking at that very shortly. But for now, I hope that's interested you. I'd say pause it, have a look, have a good read yourself. Fantastic item to have is this. It's going in my little collection of Crystal Maze memorabilia. So thank you for watching, if indeed you still are. Goodbye.